A life without pain. An unusual genetic mutation of a 75-year-old woman. Jo Cameron feels no pain. Even a major operation and childbirth did not cause significant discomfort. This also applies to fear, anxiety or stress. All because of a certain genetic mutation. Now scientists have discovered how the mutation affects the female body at the molecular level. They also hope the findings will lead to the development of new pain treatments. Researchers from University College London have been studying Jo Cameron's DNA for several years. All this to learn the mechanisms behind the state in which you do not feel pain. If we could learn the trick used by Cameron's body, it could help many people suffering from chronic pain. Scientists have made some progress in the new analyses, but there is still a long way to go to fully understanding the mechanism. The description and results of the research were published in the journal Brain. While for us existence without pain would be something abstract, for Jo Cameron the very concept of pain has an abstract character. She doesn't have this problem. In typical conditions, pain informs us that something is wrong with our body, the organism. However, in the case of the 75-year-old Scottish woman, she has had to get by without this warning sign. For example, he does not feel burns and notices them only visually or when he simply feels the smell of his burnt skin. Her body was also unimpressed by both childbirth and major hip surgery. But where does this insensitivity to pain come from? As you can easily guess, the whole thing must have its origin in genetics. Such unusual functioning of the human body is referred to as congenital analgesia. In order for it to exist at all, a number of genetic conditions must occur. So it should come as no surprise that this happens extremely rarely. It is estimated that the chance of having the right set of genes is 1 in a million. Currently, we only know of a few more people around the world who are in a situation like Jo Cameron's. Accurate knowledge of the genome of such people can be a great opportunity in the fight against pain. Many patients are accompanied by it for several months or even years. We are talking about chronic pain then. That's why a team of scientists from University College London decided to try to study Jo Cameron's genes. It turned out that the gene discovered by scientists from the same university is of key importance here. This is fX8I8, found in a part of our genome known as junk DNA, that was thought to be useless to us. However, it turned out that fX8I8 is crucial for modifying another gene, called the gene of happiness or forgetfulness. fAAH, fatty acid amide hydrolase, makes people less anxious and more absent-minded. In Jo Cameron's case, however, fAAH, along with another more common mutation in a neighboring gene, means she wouldn't feel the typical adrenaline rush even in a car accident. It is worth emphasizing that so far no drug that would be able to act on fAAH and would undergo clinical trials has been developed. Anyway, the behavior of these genes is particularly interesting, because when the activity of fAAH was silenced in the laboratory, it translated into the same effect in the case of fAAH. And this, in turn, translated into the functioning of genes responsible for pain perception, but also opioid receptors, i.e. lipids, which play a key role in, among others, in the treatment of wounds, but also proteins responsible for our mood. So it turns out that by studying this set of genes, scientists can kill a lot of birds with one stone. The cockatoos learn from each other how to open trash cans. For the first time, cockatoo parrots have been shown to be able to learn from each other to solve complex real-world problems. It started with some curious birds learning how to open bins in Sydney. Other cockatoos picked up on the trick, and the behavior quickly spread to other neighborhoods in the city. The yellow-crested or golden-crested cockatoo, Cockatoos gallerita, are noisy birds that have fully adapted to the urban environment. They quench their thirst in public fountains and search the streets for food. They are considered a nuisance pest by Sydney residents. They eat the crops and keep you awake at night with their ear-splitting squeaks. They're also insanely smart. They are also sociable. They live in herds of hundreds of individuals. Some of them have learned to open the lids of wastebaskets to comb through the waste for tasty leftovers from the tables. Now scientists have noticed that this phenomenon is spreading. This ability has become so common among the Sydney cockatoos that scientists believe that the parrots imitate the actions of their fellows and learn from each other. A few years ago, Richard Major of the Australian Museum Research Institute in Sydney filmed a cockatoo parrot lifting the lid of a trash can and shared the video with his colleagues. Intrigued, the scientists asked suburban residents around Sydney and Wollongong to help track the phenomenon. When the team started the project in 2018, researchers documented cockatoos opening containers in 3 suburbs. But at the end of 2019, according to reports from residents, birds plundered baskets already in 44 housing estates. By checking the reported sightings, the researchers mapped the occurrence of the phenomenon and detected a clear pattern. As if these incidents spread geographically from 3 starting points. In total, a team led by biologist Barbara Klump of the Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior in Germany collected 1,396 reports from residents of Sydney's suburbs. Researchers asked residents about the behavior of birds, specifically about cases of birds opening garbage bins. A total of 338 incidents of bin looting were reported. Scientists believe that the spread of the phenomenon in a very short time is due to the birds learning from each other. What's more, birds in different locations use slightly different methods of opening baskets, which, as the authors of the publication in the journal, Science, pointed out, most likely depends on the individual from which the parrot learned. We observed that the birds did not open the wastebaskets in the same way, but rather used different techniques in different settlements, suggesting that the behavior is learned by observing other individuals, Klump said. To get a clearer picture of what the cockatoos actually do, the researchers caught and tagged 486 birds from several locations where they were reported to open trash cans. After filming 160 successful littering operations, the researchers noted some common steps. First, the bird lifts the lid of the basket with its beak. It then holds them slightly elevated, resting them on its head or beak, and shuffles towards the hinges. The last step is to suddenly lift the lid so that it falls down, hitting the side wall of the basket, finally opening the vault. All this requires specific movements of the head and legs around the lid of the basket. Each bird used slightly different techniques. Some cockatoos lifted the lid of the baskets by the handle. Others chose places on the side of the basket. Some lifted the lid with their beaks, while others helped themselves with their feet. Scientists believe that only a few individuals figured out how to open the lid of the garbage cans, and the rest simply learned these techniques through observation and imitation. Residents, in order not to have a problem with the waste scattered around the baskets by parrots, began to put heavy objects, such as stones or bricks, on the lid. But cockatoos can deal with that too. In more than 90% of the cases when Sydney residents spotted the bird opening its bin, many other cockatoos gathered around watching the attempt. Such careful observation is a great opportunity to pass on skills. Although, on the other hand, the birds could simply wait for access to food, and not spy on the skills of their companions. It really means they're learning socially, not just that they can open a trash can, but how to open it, admitted Klum. The scholar also suggested that local knowledge about opening dumpsters is passed on, creating regional subcultures. Local cultures or dialects have been observed in parrot calls. But this is the first time they have been found in the way they forage. The researchers also noted that mostly large males open the lids of the baskets with the greatest efficiency. Older and more experienced cockatoos have also been seen chasing the young ones out of the way, forcing them to watch as they try to open the basket. Birds also liked baskets with a red lid. In Sydney, this means a bin for mixed waste where parrots can find something to eat. Bins with yellow flaps, containers for secondary raw material, are ignored by birds.